Act 2, Scene 1 of Julius Caesar. Some of the building background plays out to be of importance, and some of it actually makes sense from what we've seen already. Talking about great storms, strange sights in the skies, and unusual behavior by animals were indication that not all was well. We saw that with the people's arms on fire and the lion walking in the streets, and just the storm that was there. I think it was just last scene with Cassius and with Casca when they're meeting in the street in their last real planning session before they go and attempt to recruit Brutus one last time. And in fact, going on, it talks about that Caesar, as well as other people, they would perform sacrifices. And you may have seen this in movies before. And they would have certain holy people perform these sacrifices, and based on whatever they see or don't see, they were able to translate that or correlate that to whether they should do something or not do something, whether what they're doing is right or what they're doing is wrong. And that will play out here in a little bit when we see Caesar ultimately deciding whether he should leave the house this morning or whether he should stay. And he has somebody perform a sacrifice, and that's where that comes from a historical kind of allusion or perspective. So Act 2, Scene 1, Brutus's garden. Notice where it says, or when it says this takes place. The Ides of March. And based on our preliminary discussions, we know that this is the day that Caesar has been warned by the soothsayer back in the, was that the first scene? Can't remember, second scene at least. They said, beware the Ides of March. What, me? Why should, what? Get away. I'm Caesar, what do I have to be scared of? So he already had a warning of that, and he will continue to get a couple more warnings. And it's really interesting to note, especially in other plays like Macbeth, but a lot of things happen in threes. And he will have the soothsayer, he will have Calpurnia, his wife, she'll have some dreams, and then he'll even have one other person trying to slip him a letter giving him, hey, you may want to watch out for these people. And so he will have all of these warnings, but yet you will see, and we know historically, that he has kind of shirked those, and pushed those to the side and moved forward. And so this is in Brutus's garden. We start off with him giving this soliloquy at the beginning of the scene, and where he really goes into detail about should I or shouldn't I go through with this deal. Because remember, the thing to remember with Brutus, he's the main character. It's not Caesar. The protagonist is Marcus Brutus, and he is the main character for a lot of reasons, one of which is we really see what makes him tick, what he thinks. Before he does an action, he thinks. There's this process. And we heard earlier that he loves Rome so much, and he loves Caesar. He likes Caesar a lot, but he loves Rome more. And that's something that will be played from time to time throughout this play, is that I love Caesar, but I love Rome more than anything, and I will do whatever. And so if you can convey to me that there is a legitimate, clear and present danger that Caesar is going to be a horrible person, well, that's not good for Rome. And so I will need to do something about it. And so we will see whether he truly gets sucked into this plot or not. And especially when Cassius and some other conspirators show up in a couple pages to put in that last little, here we go. We really need you. We're going forward with this. We could really use you. And as somebody said in the previous scene, having Brutus to our cause will add a lot of credibility. Having just his face there, it adds a lot. And I think we made the comparison to if you're going out, hey, you want to go to a party? I don't know. Well, so-and-so's going to be there. Really? They're going to be there? Okay, well then, all right, I'll go. Okay, it's one of those things. It immediately adds a lot of credibility just having him associated with it, because Cassius wasn't lying. People truly think that he is a noble, Brutus, is an extremely noble individual. And so that's where their motivation to get Brutus into this comes from. All right, and so Brutus, we see throughout this that he is a good guy, that he all of his actions are rooted in a good, wholesome, really, motivation. And so we'll see that play out. So this is a kind of a lengthy scene, one of the longer ones of the play. But a lot of stuff happens. Like I said, we see Brutus, we see him really thinking about it. We see Cassius come in with some conspirators really pushing. And we see the final plans being made for killing Caesar this day in a few hours. Okay, in a few hours. So follow along, and we are on 793. Follow along if you're on the translations. Act 2, Scene 1. Okay, Act 2, Scene 1. We see it's at Brutus's garden, and as we said before we listened, it's called the Ides of March, so it's the particular day that they are going to kill Caesar. But at this point, Brutus, up to now, he hasn't fully committed to it. We find out at the end, when he's talking to Portia, that he has been really struggling, can't sleep at night, gets up from dinner and just walks away. She tries to help him, and he just blows her off. And so this has been on his mind for a long time, and he's finally decided to act upon it. So if you look at line 10, Lucius, his servant, has finally left, and he says, "It must be by his death, and for my part, I know no personal cause to spurn at him, but for the general." So if you're looking at footnotes, there's no reason for me to strike out at him except for the common good of the populace of Rome. He would be crowned. How that might change his nature, there's the question. So he is worried about if he's crowned. He's not so much worried about what's happening right now, but you give him this ultimate power. And remember, Mark Antony offered the crown to him 3 times, and he rejected it. So again, the repetition of 3. But if he were to accept it, what would happen? What would Caesar do and be like? And he gives this big description that, especially on line 24, talking about someone climbing a ladder. And Caesar is of the person that he thinks that if he climbs the ladder, when he reaches the top rung, he doesn't look down at everything that he's climbed over and he's done to get there. He just, I'm at the top. And I distance myself from everyone else. And he's worried that that's going to be Caesar. So it's very important that you understand the motivation of Brutus, that he does this for the greater good of Rome and for fear of what Caesar would be if he had the ultimate power. Okay, Brutus is not a bad guy. But he's going to kill him, so it's bad. But for the purpose of this story, is Caesar good? I don't know. The protagonist is Brutus. He's the one we're supposed to, sympathize with and empathize. Good, and that's why at the 794 at the top there, when he says, "And therefore think him as a serpent's egg, which hatched would as his kind grow mischievous, and kill him in the shell." And so it's like, think of him as a poisonous snake in a shell. It's easier just to stomp on him and kill him now than let him grow and become mischievous and potentially deadly. And so that's where he's kind of, this is what I need to do, and this is what I need to happen. And so Lucius brings in some letters that they found that weren't there previously, earlier in the evening. And he starts to read them, and there are a lot of those letters that Cassius has written, in other people's hands. Brutus, you need to do this. Brutus, we support you. You're so noble, Brutus. And so he's reading these, and it's helping. It's not necessarily playing on his vanity and his popularity, but yet it's showing him, good, I'm not alone here, and other noble people think highly of me, but also think of the cause. If you look at the next couple pages, we have Lucius showing up and saying that Cassius and some other men are at the door. Well, do you know who they are? No, their faces are covered. So they're wearing, like hoods, like Jedi hoods. We can't tell who you are in the darkness because they don't want to walk around the streets. Hey, look at us. We are noble senators. They want to be, blending into the background in the darkness. And so they show up then on 796. And Brutus knows before they even enter, he goes, they are the faction, O conspiracy. So these are the people. And when they enter, do I know them? Yes, you know all of them, and they all think very nobly of you. And that's what Cassius says on line 90. Yes, you know every man of them, and no man here but honors you. And every one doth wish you had that opinion of yourself, which every noble Roman bears of you. So in essence, echoing what all of those letters have said, and really what Cassius has said throughout this whole play thus far. And the time frame, I think it said we've been roughly a month that's transpired so far. And so Cassius has been saying all this, and now here are people that you are going to meet for the first time that are in the conspiracy, that truly think highly of you and wish that you had the same feelings about yourself that they have of you. Okay, so this is that first moment, the first opportunity. So then it's just an introduction of individuals, and a lot of these people we've already seen before, and a lot of them you've already read about, from previous discussions or from the cast of characters at the very beginning. And so a big moment on 797, line 111, 112. Brutus says, "Give me your hands all over one by one." So going around shaking hands, shaking hands. Nowadays you might see them put it in a huddle, oh, go team. But it's here, give me your hands, shake hands, let's bond about this. This is what we're going to do. And then Cassius goes, "Let us swear our resolution." No, not an oath. And this is really important because, again, it shows you what's driving him. It shows you what's driving him. "If not the face of men, the sufferance of our souls, the time's abuse, if these be motives weak, break off betimes, and every man hence to his idle bed." So these are reasons we're doing this. Okay, and if those aren't strong enough for our conviction, then let's just go to bed. Let's just end this now. We don't need to make an oath. This is our duty as Roman citizens and senators, congressmen. We need to do this. If you don't think that these are viable problems, then we need to go and to bed and just end this. And he goes into great detail in this big monologue in expressing the motivation and what needs to happen. The next couple lines are really interesting. Cassius says, "But what of Cicero? Should we sound him? I think he will stand very strong with us. Yes, let us not leave him out. No, by no means. Metellus, oh, let us have him, for his silver hairs will purchase us a good opinion and buy men's voice." And so, just like Brutus's presence gives him credibility, you bring in this older man with the silver hair, and he will add his age to this, give them some more credibility. But look at Brutus again. He goes, "Name him not. Let us not break with him, for he will never follow anything that other men begin." So he kind of sees him as a person who only does stuff that he starts. He's not so much a follower. We don't need him. Decius, "Shall no man else be touched but only Caesar?" Here's where we find Cassius. Remember, Cassius is kind of that villain, the dark one. Well urged, Decius. "I think it is not meet Mark Antony, so well beloved of Caesar, should outlive Caesar. We shall find him a shrewd contriver, and you know his means, abilities. If he improves them," so if he uses them fully, if he grows with them, "he may stretch so far as to annoy us all, which to prevent, let Antony and Caesar fall together." So, I think we should kill Mark Antony too. Here's where we need to figure things out, and we see Brutus for Brutus' sake. They are killing one man, Caesar, because they are worried about Rome, and they are worried about what their society will look like. Now, if we start killing other people because we're scared or worried, it weakens that first dagger thrust. Mark Antony isn't going to assume power and do all these things, and that the only reason we're killing Caesar is because we're worried of what he can do. In power. Mark Antony doesn't have power. He's just the right-hand man of Caesar and loyal. So Brutus says, "Of course, our course will seem too bloody, Caius Cassius, to cut the head off and then hack the limbs, like wrath in death and envy afterwards, for Antony is but a limb of Caesar. Let's be sacrificers, not butchers." And so it's like we're cutting the head off this problem by killing Caesar. But what if we start hacking limbs afterwards, after the body's dead? It will just seem like we're butchers, and we're not the saviors that we truly are for Rome. So by cutting the head off, by killing Caesar, the arms it doesn't matter anymore. Mark Antony's an arm. It doesn't matter. And we don't want to be too bloody. We don't want people to think negatively upon us. So Caesar must bleed for it, line 171. And gentle friends, let's kill him boldly, but not wrathfully. Let's carve him as a dish fit for the gods, not hew him as a carcass fit for... So let's kill him nobly. Let's not, run up and just go crazy on him. And as you'll see, they just come up and each stabs. Each stab, each will stab. It's not up there, and just slit his throat still, he's dead, now we're still getting him. They want to do this and make a statement, and that's important. Important to understand. And notice who's coming up with all these thoughts, these motives. It's Brutus, the person who just joined the conspiracy, the last person who joined the conspiracy, and he's the one making the calls. So, and they're following him. So does that show you the power that he does have over these people? How noble he truly is, and what great things they think about him. The last page, really, with the conspirator on 799, he says, 180, he says, we shall be called perjurers, not murderers. And for Mark Antony, think not of him. For he can do no more than Caesar's arm when Caesar's head is cut off. Yet I do fear him. For in the engrafted love he bears to Caesar. Do not think of him. If he loves Caesar, all that he can do is to himself. So all he can do is, as a footnote says, he could die with grief. There's nothing he can do. There's nothing. For he is given to sports and wildness and much. He's too athletic and likes to party and have all these things. Don't worry about him. We're focusing on the better of Rome. We'll focus. Trebonius, there is no fear in him. There is nothing to fear. So he backs Brutus and says, let him not die. So they decided the only person to die is Julius Caesar. Good. At the very bottom of that page, in kind of wrapping this up before Portia shows up, they decide, what's happening. Decius says, I'll go bring him to the capital. Cassius, nay, we'll all go and fetch him, so we'll kind of escort him. And there is a moment that they say that Caesar is usually very superstitious, and we talked about that before this scene, in that, he may not show up. Oh, leave it to me. I will be able to get him to come. I will flatter him. I will trick him. And that's why that big footnote they're talking about, like unicorns betrayed. Sometimes they get their horns stuck in trees. They're tricked, and that way they can be captured. And of course, this is mythological, and so the illusions of that, you should have known that, but we don't. That's why there's a footnote. So the conspirators leave, and they're going to meet at Caesar's place, and that'll come up here, in the next scene. But Portia shows up, and she's very upset that Brutus isn't sharing his concerns with her. She notices things are wrong. If you look at her big monologue there, right before Brutus, or right after Brutus says, it's not your help thus to commit your weak condition to the law. Why are you up? It's cold morning. Get in bed. She says, not for yours neither. Brutus, you stole from my bed, and yesterday at supper you suddenly arose and walked about musing. I urged you further. You scratched your head. You stomped your foot. You waited. You insisted. I asked, and you just keep pushing me off. What's going on? You need to respect me. You need to talk to me. I'm your wife. What, are you sick? Is that a problem? Yes, I'm sick. Well, then why are you walking around? Come back to bed. There's something wrong you need to share with me. And there's this great speech that she says around line 280 or something, where it's talking about, all of these things that I can help you with, that you're not, if you don't do these things, then I'm really not your wife. I'm your harlot. I'm just your mistress, the woman you sleep with. But I want to be more than you. And I love you so much that she takes a knife and she cuts herself on her leg to show how much she loves him. And you can trust me, and everything will be great. And so he eventually says, there's a knock on the door. Oh, I'm married to a wonderful woman. You go to bed. I'll come and I will tell you everything. Because there's one last person at the door that he needs to talk to. And we see that being Caius. And he has a scarf wrapped around him, which is usually a sign of, that he's sick. Oh, are you too sick? Well, if you have a cause that I need not be sick, I will be fine. And he takes it off. Good. Well, we're going to go, and I have a plan. And so that's really where we go in this next couple scenes, is we see Caesar being recruited to go to the Senate, and then we finally see his execution. So a lot of exposition. Act 2, Scene 2, Julius Caesar, Caesar's house a few hours later. Remember, this is all previous from the previous scene that we know of. It is still the Ides of March. We know that the conspirators are going, I believe they said at 8 o'clock, they're going to meet up and bring Caesar to the Capitol, where they will do their deed. And they were worried that Caesar would be superstitious of late, and so he might not come. And then one said, no, I will be able to get him. I will tell him things and trick him into coming. And they said, well, let's just all meet up and we'll just kind of go over together, and then we do the deed. With this particular scene, we start off with we meeting Caesar and his wife, Calpurnia, however you want to say it. And she is going to explain to him that I do not want you to leave today. I have had these bad dreams, these bad visions. Now, we've explained on multiple times already of these not just bad visions, but things they actually see. Not just dreams, but things they actually see in the street. The lion walking around, the slaves on fire just walking. I mean, weird stuff that just shouldn't be. And then we spoke at the very beginning of the previous scene about how at this time they would have people that would, commit sacrifices. And then there would be these people called, augurs who would look through and, I see death in their future. These fortune teller type people. And so we're going to see her feelings about this dream start to sway him as to not go or should I go? Should I not go or go? And then look at the results of the sacrifice. Something very interesting about that particular sacrifice, and then how he interprets that. So there's a lot of neat little superstition type, supernatural things happening with regards to that. And ultimately we have the conspirators show up in order to take him and escort him to the Capitol. And look at these people as they are named. It's almost like he's naming everybody that's going to kill him, and it's kind of a huge dramatic irony moment when we know something that a character doesn't. I mean, everybody on stage outside of Caesar and his wife are there to kill him. And so, come on, let's go, Caesar. Oh, don't worry about her dreams. So look at what I think it was Decius says to says to Caesar in order to sway him and get him to want to go. So it's very easy to follow, I believe, but pay attention to those footnotes. So we are Act 2, Scene 2. The Act 2, Scene 2, Caesar's house a few hours later. Caesar comes right out and says that Calpurnia has thrice cried in her sleep, "Help! Ho! They murdered Caesar!" So he goes, "Who's within?" So he calls out a servant. "Go, bid the priests do present sacrifice and bring me their opinions of success." So tell me what the results are. And so you're having your wife scream out your name while she's asleep, having nightmares that they killed him. That's not a really good thing. And since he is superstitious, from what we heard previously from the conspirators, he needs to do something. So he goes, hey, come here. I need you to go and do sacrifice and tell me what happens, okay? Okay, yeah, good. And then that helps. Hopefully he'll hear something that, I can be calm. So Calpurnia is awoken and comes outside. She says that you shall not stir out of the house today, line 9. Caesar shall forth. The things that threaten me ne'er looked but on my back. When they shall see the face of Caesar, they are vanished. So anything that was going to, hurt me or be, they'd be scared of me. When they see me, they would vanish away if there was any bad feelings out there for me. Remember, the last time we saw Caesar, really, I think it was the only time, really. He was only in one other scene. And that was where he had just had his fit off stage. They offered him the crown 3 times, all that. But afterwards he came back in and he was saying, I'd be weary of Cassius. He has a mean and hungry look. He reads a lot. He doesn't smile. Men are dangerous. But here we have it that I can't be scared of Cassius back then, because I'm Caesar. But if I could be scared, he would be the person I'd be scared of. And so we have to understand how highly he thinks of himself. And so she says that I've never stood on ceremonies, believed in omens before, but they frightened me. Here are some of the visions that she was having in her sights. And this is line 17. A lioness hath whelped in the streets, so has given birth out in the streets. Graves have yawned and yielded up their dead. Fierce, fiery warriors fight upon the clouds in ranks and squadrons and right form of war. So they're fighting up there in normal fighting styles. And then there was one. This is the most crushing one, I believe. Talked about that drizzled blood upon the Capitol, the noise of battle hurled in the air. Horses did neigh, and dying men did groan, and ghosts did shriek and squeal about the streets. Oh, Caesar, these things are beyond all use. These things are not normal, and I do fear them. Please don't leave today. Don't go out. She is pretty much set in stone on this, that this is not good. She doesn't know that Brutus and Cassius are planning that day. It's just she has this feeling. What can be avoided, said Caesar, whose end is purposed by the mighty God. So if the gods say that you're going to die, who can change that? So if that's the fate, I must go. Caesar shall go forth. I love this line 30. When beggars die, there are no comets seen. The heavens themselves blaze forth the death of princes. So when common people die, there's really nothing crazy going on in the sky. They just die. But when greatness dies, there's a big show that happens, and all of these things happen. And Caesar's response is, cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once. Think about those lines. What great writing here. Cowards die many times before their death. So every time that a coward can step up and do something, I'm a coward. And they pull back inside themselves. And in essence, they kind of die a little bit. And so they die several times. The brave, the courageous, they die only once. And so he's not saying I'm ready to die, but I'm courageous. And that's what's going to happen. It'll come when it will come, is his last line. So then the servant came back and he goes, oh, what say the augurs? What say the sacrifice? They would not have you stir forth today. Plucking the entrails of an offering, they could not find a heart within the beast. Does that seem a little weird to you? They had a sacrifice, they opened him up, no heart. That is weird. Okay? Remember biology, animals, we need heart, beats, blood, all of that stuff. So they killed something, sacrificed it, and it had no heart. So even the augurs, the omens say, do not go. The wife has her dreams. Now the omens are coming, and so that might work. Being a superstitious man, that if I'm not listening to my wife, I'm probably going to listen to the priest who did the sacrifice. And so he says that the gods do this in shame of cowardice. Caesar should be a beast without a heart if he should stay at home today. So he's saying that the gods are sending him a message. Don't be a wussy. Go out, or else you are just like this animal without a heart. Caesar, no, Caesar shall not. Danger knows full well that Caesar is more dangerous than he. We are two lions littered in one day, and I the elder and more terrible, and Caesar shall go forth. Oh, ask my lord, your wisdom is consumed in confidence. So you are too, and it's not cocky and arrogant, well it kind of is, but you're just, no, you really need to be wise about this. But you just think you're all Caesar, and you should be able to go out there. Do not go forth today. Call it my fear that keeps you in the house and not your own. We'll send Mark Antony to the Senate house, and he shall say that you are not well today. Let me upon my knee prevail in this. She's begging and pleading. Here, send Antony. Tell them that I'm ill. Tell me you're sick. Just make something up. Don't go. Come up with some. Play hooky to that, is what she's pleading. Notice who enters here in a little bit. After Caesar says, Mark Antony shall say I'm not well, and for thy humor, I will stay at home. It's worked, folks. Calpurnia has, in essence, saved his life for the moment. Okay? She has convinced Caesar to stay. Now, they were worried about this, the conspirators, but then Decius says, if that happens, I will trick him into coming. Look at what he does and says, because he walks in. Here, Decius Brutus! He shall tell them so. He shall pass along the news. Caesar, all hail, good morrow, worthy Caesar. I come to fetch you to the Senate house. Oh, and you are come in a very happy time, the right moment, to bear my greetings to the senators, and tell them that I will not come today. Cannot is false, and that I dare not, falser. I will not come. Do you see the difference in that? It's keeping the power, it's keeping the I have control. I choose not to come. Don't give them an excuse of being sick. I choose. I will not come. I'm not scared to come. Just tell them I will not come. So Calpurnia goes, say he's sick. Shall Caesar send a lie? Go tell Caesar will not come. Most mighty Caesar, let me know some cause, lest I be laughed at when I tell them so. The cause is in my will. I will not come. That is enough to satisfy the Senate. So we can see who has the power and who is really in control here. But he says on line 74, because I love you, I will let you know. Calpurnia here, my wife, stays me at home. She dreamt tonight. She saw my statue, which like a fountain with 100 spouts did run pure blood, and many lusty Romans came smiling and did bathe their hands in this. So he's relaying the visions that Calpurnia had, one of which is him as a fountain with a bunch of holes with blood oozing out. Oh, Caesar, she misinterpreted that dream. Remember, Decius was going to kind of, it's called flip the script, and use this in order to convince Caesar to come back. So look at how Decius, how really smart he is. And this is his real one glorious moment of the play. Your statue spouting blood in many pipes, in which so many smiling Romans bathe, signifies that from you great Rome shall suck reviving blood. So it's not that people are happy and glorious that you are, dead. It's, no. Look at how Rome feeds off of you and nourishes itself off you. This is a glorious thing. This is all about signs and visions and interpretations and superstitions. And so it's just all a matter of interpretation. And Caesar, and this way have you well expounded it. I have, when you have heard what I can say and know it now, the Senate have concluded to give this day a crown to mighty Caesar. If you shall send them word you will not come, their minds may change. Besides, it were a mock apt to be rendered for someone to say, break up the Senate till another time when Caesar's wife shall meet with better dreams. And so he's really calling out him like, you don't want people to know that because your wife had a bad dream, you didn't come out tonight. You want to be more than that. You don't want people to think, oh, well, are we meeting today? Oh, I don't know. It depends if Calpurnia had another nightmare or not. Oh, well, maybe we'll find out later. Okay, so it's really, he's really pushing on Caesar to, this is a bad term, but, to man up to it and just go out. He's telling him you shouldn't be worried about what she thinks, and look at what we're going to give you. You need to come. You need to come. Line 105. This is kind of that moment that is just, oh, Caesar, you're a dead man. After Decius gets done with everything, Caesar goes, how foolish do your fears seem now, Calpurnia? I am ashamed I did yield to them. Give me my robe, for I will go. At this point, all the conspirators come walking in. And he is going. Okay, at this particular point. Notice as he walks around, welcome, Publius. What? Brutus, are you stirred early too? Oh, good morrow, Casca. Caius Ligarius, how are things? Oh, good, good. Shake hands, good. Good morrow, Antony. Oh, so most noble Caesar. Now, Mark Antony is just there because he's a friend of Caesar, and he's there. He's not a member of the conspiracy. Remember, Cassius wanted to kill him, but Brutus said, no, no, Antony is nothing once Caesar is killed. And so, I really like this line, a huge dramatic irony right at the bottom of this, around line 120. He goes, now Cinna, now Metellus, what Trebonius? I have an hour's talk in store for you. Remember that you call on me today, so come and find me today. I want to talk to you about something. Be near me that I may remember you. I might forget, so just be near me. Oh, Caesar, I will. And here's that aside, where the audience, he speaks directly to the audience for no one else's purpose but you, the audience. He goes, and so near will I be that your friends shall wish I had been further. You can almost imagine that, hand-wringing going on at that moment. But a huge dramatic irony moment because everybody on stage is happy, huggy, shaking hands, things are great. But everybody else, they have that smile, but everything else is a lot darker on the inside. Good friends, go in, taste some wine with me, and we, like friends, notice good friends, like friends, will straightway go together. And then they're leaving, as Brutus has an aside, that every like is not the same, O Caesar. The heart of Brutus earns to think upon. So looking at the footnote, the note there in the margin is, oh Caesar, you keep saying friends, but if you only knew the real truth. Friends on the outside aren't always friends on the inside. Okay? So that's a lot of drama in this particular scene, a lot of dramatic irony where we know something that a character doesn't. And that was Calpurnia's big scene, trying to plead, very emotional, trying to keep Caesar to stay home because of these bad dreams and bad omens. Scene 3, a street near the Capitol shortly afterward. A very short scene here. We have a character, Artemidorus. This is his one scene. This is the last chance for Caesar to learn of the conspiracy. Whether it was, the soothsayer back in Act 1, beware the Ides of March, which it's now the Ides of March, or Calpurnia's dream here. And remember, the repetition of threes a lot in Shakespeare. And now we have it play out where this Artemidorus is going to write a letter, okay? And he is going to explain all of the problems and all the conspirators. And it's his goal in the following scene, as Caesar passes, to get him this letter. Now that we know that Caesar dies, we can probably surmise that that letter is not going to make it to him. But if only he would read this letter. So a very short scene, doesn't need too much analysis, just focus on the naming of people and how somebody tried to save Julius Caesar at the very end.
Scene 3. A street near the Capitol. Shortly afterward. Enter Artemidorus, reading a paper.
Caesar, beware of Brutus. Take heed of Cassius. Come not near Casca. Have an eye to Cinna. Trust not Trebonius. Mark well Metellus Cimber. Decius Brutus loves thee not. Thou hast wrong Caius Ligarius. There is but one mind in all these men, and it is bent against Caesar. If thou beest not immortal, look about you. Security gives way to conspiracy. The mighty gods defend thee. Thy lover, Artemidorus. Here will I stand till Caesar pass along, and as a suitor will I give him this. My heart laments that virtue cannot live out of the teeth of emulation. If thou read this, O Caesar, thou mayest live. If not, the fates with traitors do contrive.
Exit.
Scene 4, another Roman street immediately after. We see that Portia and Lucius, who is a servant of theirs, and Portia, the wife of Brutus, from an earlier scene. What is going on right now is Caesar and all the conspirators are traveling to the Capitol. Remember, Portia knows about the conspiracy. She's the only one outside of the group. Well, who told her? Brutus, her husband. Remember, she was pleading with him, and she cut herself on her leg in order, look, I love you so much, you need to tell me. If you don't tell me, I'm just pretty much like a mistress or a prostitute. You're not really married to me. You need to trust me. Look, I love you so much, and she cuts herself on her leg. Oh, worthy woman, go inside, and I will tell you later once I deal with what I need to deal with. So this did not happen on stage where she is informed of it. However, he told her, so time has passed. We can surmise that she knows now. And we see that play out here. She's going to be, it's very nervous. It's like Imagine if you were, at a robbery and you were the getaway driver and everybody is inside doing the deed and you're sitting out there. Are you just whistling, playing with the radio? Or are you probably staring at your clock, thinking that this is taking forever, wondering what's going on? Ooh, a cop's driving by. Oh, are they responding to the call? Are they coming in? Are they stopping? Oh, you're always looking around. So she is very nervous. Okay, she could probably care less about Caesar and all that stuff. She loves her husband. And so she's very concerned about what's going on. So as she's talking to Lucius, she's going to, oh, did you hear that? Dude, I think I heard something at the Capitol. I think something's going on. Nothing's going on yet, but you can see the nerves, and nerves are frayed, and she's really reaching out to try to grasp them. This is just a page and a half, the very end of the act. Pay particular attention to the things that she says to Lucius, and really her overall emotional state at this particular time. So Act 2, Scene 4, another Roman street immediately after. We see that Portia is speaking to Lucius, go run to the Senate house, and we see her very last line again, go to the Senate, I hope he's fast, I tell my husband what I feel about, give him my regards, tell him I'm thinking about him, that I'm alright, that I'm supportive of him, and let me know what he says. She's very nervous. She sees the soothsayer from the first act. Oh, where have you been? Oh, I've been home. Well, where are you going? Well, I'm going to go try to talk to Caesar again. Because now that it is the Ides of March, the last time he saw him, he told him about a month ago, beware the Ides, so I'm going to try to talk to him again. So I hope to get in a place that he'll listen to me. And so hopefully he, oh, do you know something's going on? Do you know that he'll be harmed? Which is a really loaded question, line 31, 32. Why, knowest thou any harms intended towards him? Well, no, none that I know will be, much that I fear may chance. So there's a good possibility. I don't know for sure, but I don't know for sure. But I really think that it could happen. And that's kind of like a proof, because she knows that something is going to happen. And she hears that, Caesar hasn't quite left yet, but when he does, it's going to be this big parade, and everybody following him as he walks through the streets on the way to the Senate, and everybody, clipping at his heels. Imagine the movie Rocky when he's out, training, and everybody flocks behind him and runs with him, or Forrest Gump when he goes running and everybody wants to be with him. It's the same type of thing here. So we see the devoted wife. If I remember right, these are the last scenes that we'll ever see Portia and Calpurnia, because of all the things that happen in these next two scenes. We're just not going to bump into them anymore. There's no reason to see Calpurnia anymore with Caesar dying here in this next scene. It's pretty dramatic.